cage match because it fits in. It's also the Dave Ramsey Show. It's titled "The Death of the College Degree?" Question mark. Graduates are making less money. And of course, I saw this and I'm like, that doesn't sound even remotely true. So I had to check it out.
Already feels like not a thing.
Yeah, already feels like bullshit. So had to check it out. So let's go see. Let's see what they say. Come on, baby.
And college grads have got a overinflated view of what they could make and should make. Is that a fair way of saying that?
That's a very fair way.
And you got some more data on your hands.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. As hiring demands increase, this is from CNBC.com, the average starting salary for the class of 2022 is projected to be more than $50,000. Okay, checks out.
That's
However,
right.
Current college students expect to earn twice that, $103,880 in their first job, according to one report.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a problem.
It is a problem. It's not realistic. The mark.
Well, okay. So CNBC, right, is where they got this from, right? He inflated that quite a bit. I don't know where he got that number from because I found the article here from CNBC. New college graduates are overestimating their starting salaries by 30 grand. He's saying he's okay. Average starting salary is about 56,000. That's true. So if you go on and look at like any university site, you can see, well, what's the average starting pay for one of your graduates? That's usually right about where it's at. Usually right about 50 to 60,000. It's pretty normal, right? Now, what they're saying is current college students expect to earn much more, almost 85,000 in their first job, according to one report.
Okay, but why are they expecting that?
Well, I looked at this. Here was where they got it from. They got it from this site called realestatewitch.com. Okay, because students work for less than college students won't work for less than 72,000 at their first job. Now, when you go down through this whole thing, to learn more about student salary, we asked 1,000 undergraduates pursuing a bachelor's degree about their finances. But they don't really tell you where they asked these people.
Okay, and then it goes on to say, go back.
Go ahead, okay.
It goes on to say 79% of undergraduates think they deserve more money. So it sounds to me like this is A, a survey, but B, based on what their expectations are for their salary and that they don't want to work less for a certain amount, not literally based on what the jobs are paying that
right.
They are getting qualified for. So there's nothing wrong with this information, but I feel like they're trying to use this information to mean something that it doesn't.
Well, on top of that fact, it's you're right. Their implication is that college students are making less. Was kind of what the implication of the title of that video was, but that's not what's actually happening. What's happening is they're saying, well, no, these people are expecting more, but you're talking about one survey of 1,000 people out of how many millions of college students. I mean, this is not exactly like a qualified study here.
I don't even think it's trying to represent itself. I just think it's representing itself as a survey, really. But even in this survey, this sounds more like what it's reading to me is as a bit of, I don't know, frustration is the word that comes to my mind. Frustration that they have, like, they don't want to go out into the workforce with these degrees in these certain areas making less than blank. I don't want to take a job that makes less than blank. Seems to be actually the conversation they're having. They're not
sure.
The reality of wages compared to some other point in time, etc.
Sure, but you also have to factor in the other truth here, which is you're talking to a bunch of people between 18 and 22 who've never really had to work in the real world before.
Right.
They don't have a realistic perspective.
Right.
I mean, I hate to be mean, but we are talking to children who are in college. We're not talking to 30-year-old adults. Right? So I am not shocked that they think they're going to make a lot more. I mean, we all had those friends in college that were like, well, I don't want to have to start out at the bottom. It's like, well, bummer. Everybody starts out at the bottom, dude. You know?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I had a friend who went to fashion school, and she was upset because no one was hiring for fashion jobs. I mean, they were all like runner jobs, like introductory, low paying, long hours, where you had to prove yourself, and she didn't want to do that. She wanted to go right up to being a designer right out of the gate. I'm like, that's not going to happen.
That's not reality in so many industries, and I can't speak to all of them, obviously. I wouldn't have the expertise to do so.
Sure.
But that happens in so many industries. Really, I feel like there aren't very many where you exit with degree to do certain job, immediately jump into exactly that title that you wanted. Most places you have to work your way up into that, starting at a position that's entry level, or maybe a little bit more advanced than entry level if you have the appropriate degree, but not immediately the title you were aiming for.
Right.
And I know that's obnoxious, but it's really just true of most corporations. They want to see you do something first.
Right, just kind of how business works. People pay you for experience too. But we'll watch some more of this. But yeah, they've kind of misinterpreted this whole thing, because it's not even like you said, it's a survey at best. And it's not even a complete survey, and it doesn't really explain, well, yeah, we are talking to 18, 19-year-olds about what they expect of the world. It's not a realistic question.
The question is, and I've not seen any of these articles that offer an opinion as to why. I think I have an opinion, but what say you?
I interviewed a bunch of high schoolers, and when I talked to them, they all were like, "Well, yeah, I'm gonna make 6 figures when I graduate." And I was like, "What makes you think that?"
Right.
There's no reality. It's just kind of this wet finger in the air, and I think I deserve. And the way things are going with the economy, you need to make 100,000. So I'm just gonna go make 100,000.
Yeah. And so here's what's dangerous about this. If you are one of these young people and you're listening and watch this, listen, we're not bashing you right now. I don't want you to hear, here's Ken and George, the old cranky guys like the Muppets, those two Muppet guys that sat in the top,
The balcony.
Way to get a real topical reference there for the kids. The Muppets.
I mean,
let me qualify this.
The Muppets reference, but
the Muppets was before my time, okay?
It was not, because it was my time, and our age gap is pretty skinny.
Yeah, I didn't watch the Muppets, but yeah, I mean.
Okay, you didn't watch it. That doesn't mean it wasn't before your time. You just weren't watching it.
I was too young.
You were not too young.
Too young and fresh-faced.
I don't know what paper bag they threw over your head that made you not see the Muppets, but there was something. All right, in the comments below, is Duncan too young for the Muppets? Tell us what you think. By the way, I'm sure you think I'm right.
Yeah. No, but I mean, yeah, they can kind of hit the point where we just did, which is, you're talking to young people that don't have a great perspective. Okay. So let's see where they go from here, because I haven't seen this yet. So we're both watching this fresh for the first time. Let's see if they figure it out.
Yeah, those guys. Here's the deal. Here's why I want you to really do your homework on what the jobs are offering, what you're going to look at. And George just gave you the number, because when you have unrealistic expectations, George, you are going to have unmet expectations.
Ooh.
And so that starts you off right out of the gate with a certain amount of resentment.
Yeah, and cynicism.
And frustration and everything that comes with that. And so this is interesting. So the number is, they're expected to start at, you said it was 55?
Well, they're expected to start at just over 50.
Oh, just over 50,000.
But their expectations are that they're going to be 103 plus. Yeah. And it says 10 years into the careers, students anticipate making more than $200,000.
Yeah, well.
So they're way overestimating their starting salaries, one report says, by 88%. And so they need to understand, what degree am I after?
Yeah, I mean, if you think you're making $200,000 by the time you're 30, yeah, so you're in the top 1%, top, 2 or 3% of earners in the country? Yeah, no.
Right.
Yeah, it's unrealistic. But this is not a matter of this is the kid's fault or college's fault or anything like that. This is a matter of they're just young.
And once again, I think it bears repeating, the Ramsey crew didn't read their material.
Right.
Just in case anyone forgot.
Yeah.
I just wanted to sneak that back in there.
They never read it.
Ramsey crew didn't read any of it.
All right. Well, let's watch a little
Listen,
more.
I don't even care. To use their phrase, I'm not mad at them for not reading it. But geez, with all the people they have on staff, they think they'd at least get some decent bullet points on this stuff so they knew what they were talking about.
Well, especially when you're trying to, you're saying you're financial experts and you're trying to give advice to people, and that's what your books, and you're selling all this shit to make money. You think you'd at least do the homework. Like right. Ken just said, do your homework, kids. Get your expectations right. Well, kids, you should have done your homework on them. These guys, no background in personal finance, no background in finance at all. They just fell into these jobs. Dave just gave them these jobs. These guys have no experience. They don't know what they're talking about. So you shouldn't be listening to them. And you should have done your homework, kids. So that's my spin on Ken's do your homework bit.
Jobs on the other side of that degree, and what do those jobs pay in my area with my experience?
All right, so now
are those the steps to take?
Yeah, I agree. And so we want to know, okay, what does it look like? They've got to know the industry, and then more importantly, young people, listen, go hang out with women and men who are winning in your industry, and then say, hey, if I'm going to make, or if I want to make $200,000 in 10 years, what would need to be true? Let's just get some real coffee and some real knowledge, and so that you have an idea of what you need to expect. Now, I want to flip this for a second.
I'm going to throw it out there. I don't think that's terrible advice. However, I am laughing at him because he's basically just giving the premise for his book.
That's all it is. But it's also unrealistic to sit there and go, well, find people who are winning in that industry and spend time with them. Well, I mean, yeah, because they have a ton of time to just spend with all the random kids who walk into their office.
I'm going to say, though, I mean, if you have access to somebody like that, then it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. But
sure.
I have to tell you, my growing up was such that I really only knew people who did things for a living that were sort of adjacent to what my parents and immediate family members did for a living.
Yeah.
And people who worked in my school and maybe some of their families or something, or my friends' families. Mm-hmm. But my circle of people, I won't say it was nothing, but they were all people that did kind of similar things for a living because it's kind of how they all knew each other.
Right.
So I don't know that all of these young folks exactly have access to these people. And if you're just randomly looking somebody up that you don't have any other reason to have any connection to, they're probably not going to have the time for you.
Right. And then
but it's solid if you know someone.
Well, and then to sit there, well, what's the secret to making $200,000 a year? I mean, there's not really an answer to that question. The person who's making that kind of money, a lot of it is they fell into it or they got lucky or, they were in the right place in the right time. I mean, it's not like there's some equation here, which is where right. I think they fucked this whole thing up too. So.
Well, I like that. I bring my own sound effects. And this is an op-ed on Fox News, but listen to this. God. The world is changing as it relates to college degree and professional success. Now, George, you know this. I talk about this all the time ad nauseum.
Here we go.
And it makes me nauseous.
Yeah, it does. I talk about it too much. I'm very passionate about it. But the leveling of the playing field is here, and it's good for people who don't have a degree. Now, there are people that are listening and watching to us right now that they feel stuck because they don't want to go get another degree because either they want to pivot and they feel like they need that qualification, or they don't want to stay in the same field that they're in with the degree they have, and they think, I need a degree. Maybe not. But here's how it's changing. The headline here is employers are wising up. Between 2007 and 2019, George, the share of job postings requiring a 4-year degree rose more than 60%.
Wow.
They called it degree inflation. So it was a little bit of a monkey see, monkey do. Everybody's doing it. We don't want to be the ones that aren't doing it. And we feel like, we're going to get the riffraff. We filtered the riffraff out because if you don't have a degree, you're not as good as somebody else. And I'm being honest. I'm not trying to play on some populism here.
Well, it's kind of like the credit score. It's just an easy way to go.
Once again, this isn't an op-ed that they're pulling this from. It's opinion. And the thing about that is even now today, 70% of new jobs, we've talked about this before, require some sort of advanced education, whether it's a degree or some 2-year degree or something like that. And I don't know why I went blurry there for a second, but we'll get into that. But here's the deal: is to sit there and go, college isn't quite as good as it used to be, is what they're certain is what the argument is here, and it's kind of a roundabout argument because they're going to sit there and say, well, companies now are hiring more people without degrees, but part of that is because there aren't as many people with degrees that they can go for, right? Because right now there's an excess of jobs, so they've had to lower their qualifications, right? Which means they have to spend more money to train, which they're less apt to want to do, but they'll do it if they're stuck. That's what they're missing.
Lazy to look into their finances. The credit score tells us. It's a box we're going to check.
George. Great call. So that the degree and the credit score have become somewhat of the same thing. It's a measuring tool, but doesn't actually matter. We know it doesn't. You bought a house without a credit score.
That's right.
And we teach this all the time. All right. So real quick though, here's what's interesting. In 1990, this is the same time that we begin to see a real difference in prime age workers who are earning between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. All right. So 38% earning between $60,000 and $80,000 per year a year had a bachelor's degree. Okay. Today the proportion is 52%. So It's about degree. But listen to this: 4 in 10 recent college grads work in jobs that have not traditionally required a college degree. And in that case, the college graduates in non-college degree requirement jobs are earning more than $10,000 less. In other words, the way they write that's confusing.
Sure.
If you have a college degree, you're making over $10,000 less than your compadres who have no degree. Wow. So all that to say.
Well, but wait.
2 questions.
But there's the catch. The catch is you're in a job that doesn't require a degree. So you also don't have as much seniority as somebody who started when they were 18.
Right.
Right? And you're talking about a rarity. Right? You're talking about a situation where somebody's desperate. Now, let's look at this, because this is where, because like I said, this all just, it doesn't seem to make sense to me to sit there and go, well, okay, well now it's better to not get a degree and just get a job because you'll make more money. It's sort of what they're kind of alluding to here, right? But they can't say that because it's just not true, even though they want it to be true. But here's the reality. So I took this from Association of Public Land-Grant Universities. Okay, how does a college degree improve graduates' employment and earnings potential? Okay, typical earnings for bachelor's degree holders are $36,000, or 84% higher than those whose highest degree is a high school diploma. So they make roughly $36,000 more. Right, to begin. College graduates on average make $1.2 million more over their lifetimes. Here's a little chart here. High school degree holders average around $30,000 from 20 to 27. Bachelor's degree holders, $52,000, which is similar to what we saw before, which was $56,000. Right. 3.5 times lower poverty rate for bachelor's degree holders versus those with a high school degree. Unemployment is a lot lower. More likely to have 47% more likely to have health insurance. I mean, this is just simple stuff here. High school diploma, total lifetime earnings 1.3, some college 1.5, associate's degree 1.7, bachelor's degree 2.2 million. So everything they're saying is, well, under this specific lens, right? If we're just looking at this one specific detailed thing, then yeah, that college degree holder is making less money. But it's not the aggregate. It's not the whole. It's not the big picture, right? College graduates expect to make more, right, than they're going to make because they're being unrealistic. Yeah, but we're talking about, you asked 1,000 kids. You didn't ask the whole. Right. And what school did you go to? Did you go to like Harvard and ask those kids? Or did you go to like, the local public school? The local state school?
Right. The state school, the city school. Right.
Those kids would probably have a little bit more realistic understanding. But that's my point. So this whole thing about once again, what's the title of it? Oh, does a college degree worth it? Kind of thing. Was it the death of the college degree? Right, graduates are making less money, and yet that is not the case at all whatsoever. Man, they really have a problem with people going to college or people getting their loans forgiven. It really pisses them off.
Well, they really, I don't know, it really just sounds like they just want everybody to be able to do it the way that they did it, but they're too short-sighted to see that without some extra supports, not everybody can do it exactly the way you did it.
Yeah, I don't even think they're that nice. I think they literally just think that poor people shouldn't go to college. I honestly think that. I think that they think it should just be for people like them.